I'm Jeff Matlow. Welcome to the best leadership podcast ever. Let's talk about women in the workplace, shall we? First of all, before I start, let me apologize. I know you've got a lot going on, and this is probably the last thing you want to hear. So I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but there's a problem with women in the workplace, and it's one we need to address now. I mean, if you're okay with that. If not, we can probably wait till another time. This all starts with a coaching client of mine. She's a high-powered, highly intelligent, and highly accomplished woman who hasn't reached the pinnacle of her career yet. A few days ago, she sent me this text. It said, "I'm sorry to ask you this, but do you by any chance have time to review the document I just sent you? If you can do it by tomorrow, that'd be great. But I know you're busy, so if you don't have time, that's fine too." I replied pretty quickly, "Of course I can," and then I went to review the document. You see, she's having a few issues at work, and she wanted to address them with her boss, who, for the record, is a man. The document she sent me was an email outlining a few of her concerns. There are actually 4 of them. They are, first, not being invited to leadership meetings that include her male peers. Secondly, making personnel changes in her department without her input or approval. Third, misogynistic behavior towards other women at the company. And finally, for the coup de grace, she was getting compensated 30% less than her male counterparts, despite her having more responsibility than most of them. We can probably all agree that each of those, individually and collectively, is worthy of being addressed. So I read the draft of the email she wanted to send to her boss. Here's how it began. "I know this isn't the best time for you, considering the family issues you're dealing with, but I want to put a few things on your radar." I stopped reading there. I suddenly realized something important. Even though my client is a strong and introspective leader, her behavior is working against her. She is perpetuating the very issues that are plaguing her. In fact, she's fallen victim to one of the most prevalent behaviors that plague women leaders. Women apologize too much at work. Women apologize more than men. That's just a fact. It's been proven numerous times in numerous studies. Apologizing is good. It shows consideration for others. It's a sign of empathy. Over-apologizing is bad. And it leads to 3 bad things, but I'll talk about those in a minute. First, let's talk about apologizing. In general, people tend to apologize when they do things that they believe could be offensive to another person. Men and women are actually the same in this regard. A study in 2010 found that both men and women apologized equally, 81% of the time, when they thought they did something offensive. Kind of makes you think that men and women act similarly, doesn't it? Don't be fooled. Though both genders apologize when they do something that could be viewed as offensive, there's actually a meaningful difference in what men and women consider to be offensive. You see, to determine whether somebody could be offended by your actions, you need to put yourself in their proverbial shoes. In other words, you've got to have empathy. Apologizing is a sign of empathy, but I told you that already. Women, as it turns out, are more empathetic than men. Men are cold-hearted, self-centered sons of bitches. Because women are more empathetic, they have a lower threshold for what they consider to be offensive behavior. And because of this lower threshold, they apologize more than their male counterparts. To recap, for those of you with attention challenges, more empathy is good, but when it leads to more apologizing, that's bad. But wait, there's more. The other problem revolves around self-esteem, particularly the low kind of self-esteem. There are 2 reasons people may have low self-esteem: genetics or the environment. Now, I'm not going to talk about genetics right now because I'm not a scientist or a psychiatrist. I'm definitely not a geneticist. In fact, I'm not any type of ist. I'm just a dude who writes the best leadership newsletter ever, has a YouTube channel, and is a leadership coach. You see what I did there? All that aside, let's talk about some environmental stressors that could cause low self-esteem. One environment that impacts self-esteem is when you're part of a small minority in the middle of a larger group. Another stressor is when you feel that you're being inappropriately judged for being in said minority. As it turns out, women leaders are a distinct minority in most organizations, and as it also turns out, They're often judged as being less capable than their male colleagues. Enter low self-esteem. As you probably guessed by this point, one way people deal with low self-esteem is by apologizing profusely. When that voice in your head says, "I should have been better," or "I should have recognized that earlier," it's perfectly natural to externalize that disappointment by over-apologizing. But it's not good. It's not good at all. As I mentioned before, and hopefully you paid attention long enough to remember, apologizing is good. Saying "I'm sorry" actually improves your likability. But over-apologizing is bad, and there are 3 bad effects of over-apologizing. See, I told you we'd come back to it. The 3 bad effects of over-apologizing are: people think of you as weak, people think of you as lacking confidence, and people think you keep doing things wrong. In a nutshell, over-apologizing will negatively impact how much others trust and respect you, including your boss and senior management and your subordinates, basically everyone. It negatively impacts how everyone trusts and respects you. Let's get back to my client. I'm not implying that the misogynistic behavior she's experiencing is her fault. It absolutely is not her fault. But her profusely apologetic behavior is helping to perpetuate the notion that she is weak, lacks confidence, and doesn't have the leadership strength of her male colleagues. And I will tell you, she is not weak, she does not lack confidence, and she can run leadership circles around her colleagues, assuming, of course, that leadership is a circle. I could almost guarantee that her male counterparts wouldn't apologize if they discovered they were being massively underpaid. The males wouldn't apologize if they were omitted from meetings with their peers, and they surely wouldn't apologize for speaking their mind and standing up for themselves. Women shouldn't apologize for any of that stuff either. Women tend to be great leaders partly because they're naturally empathetic. But in the wise words of the sage prophet Jerry Garcia, every silver lining's got a touch of gray. In this instance, the silver lining of empathy oftentimes leads to the gray of over-apology. So in the end, here's what I'm asking. If you're a female leader, be more mindful of your communication at work. Do you recognize yourself apologizing a lot? If so, stop. If your situation is unfair, you have every right to be pissed about it without apology. Heck, I'm pissed too. I'm pissed at how you're being treated, and I'm pissed that you're apologizing for being pissed. So stand up for yourself, please. Oh, and I'm sorry if this annoyed you. I apologize. I could take it back if you want. If this resonated with you, I'm a leadership coach for female execs. Reach out to me at bytitleonly.com and let's have a chat. Maybe I could give you some advice. If you like this, please click subscribe. Maybe share it with somebody who can get some value out of it. I'm Jeff Matlow. This is the best leadership podcast ever. I appreciate you. We'll talk to you next time.